welcome or welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to make spreads in my reading journal for the books that I read in September. I've got my Bengal Spice tea, we'll light my candle and then we'll get started. There we go, with that lit, let's get started. So first I definitely want to make a cover page for September. In September I read 3 books, but I finished a 4th on October 1st, and it kind of goes with one of the other books I read in September, so I might include it in September. Even though I finished October 1st, I feel like that's close enough to September that I can include it, because I know in October I'm already reading more books, so I'll have plenty of books to do spreads for in October, so I think I will include that 4th book that I finished at the beginning of October. For the cover spread, I wanted to use this big leaf sticker and this squirrel sticker that I thought was really cute. These are from Jessica Lancaster Art. She's a small business that I love to buy stickers from. And I thought September would be the perfect excuse to use this little squirrel. I thought maybe I'll just layer them with some of these little paper pieces I have from a set from Amazon, and maybe some brown paper. Let me move my tea a little bit. Yeah, so far in October, I've already been reading a lot more books, but I read quite a large book in September that took a lot of my time, and that is Heat of the Everflame. It's the 3rd book in the Kindred's Curse saga by Penn Cole, and that series, I want to say it's really good, and it is good. It is entertaining. I feel like it's somewhat similar to A Court of Thorns and Roses, that series by Sarah J. Maas. If you liked that series, I think you would like this one by Penn Cole, but maybe because I read that one, I kind of compared the two, and Penn Cole's series is much slower burn, which I do like. It is a little more fantasy, a little less romance, maybe I would say, which in general I also like. But sometimes it's just a little slow. It was a little hard to get into this 3rd book. It's really large. It was like 800 pages. So that definitely took up a lot of my reading time in September. But it was good, and it did make me want to read the next one. But I've seen the cover for the next one, but I don't think it's out yet. I think it comes out next year, so I hope we don't have to wait too long to get that. I think I'll rip more paper for this side. And I also read a book called Harvest of Hearts, which was on my fall bucket list to read. And that's by Andrea Eames. And that was a really good time. I listened to it on audiobook, and the narrator had a really nice voice that added to the experience. She had like a Irish accent, I think. And I really enjoyed that book. It was also a little bit slower at times, but because I listened on audiobook, I just listened to it a little bit faster to kind of, you know, keep the story going. And I enjoyed that book a lot. And then the 2 books I listened to at the end of September were by T. Kingfisher, and they're in her series called The Sworn Soldier. It's a series of mini novellas that are all kind of scary or creepy-ish. The first one is What Moves the Dead, and the second one is What Feasts at Night. And the third, I don't know what that one will be called yet, but I think it comes out soon. If not, maybe it's already out. So I might have to listen to that one on audiobook if I can get it as well, because I also enjoyed listening to those on audiobook. They follow the same main character who has to kind of solve these different spooky mystery type of situations. So they're kind of like horror mysteries, I want to say. But yeah, I think this is looking good. I think I'm going to go ahead and tape some of the main paper pieces down, and then maybe put some like little pumpkin stickers around or something. I got a refill for my Tombow glue tape, but I have this one, which is the Mono Air. And the refills I got, I think, are just the regular Mono. I did not realize there was a difference. This is the first Tombow permanent adhesive tape I had. So now I have a bunch of these refills, so I think I might buy the case that goes with these. So it's supposed to go, like I said, in a case, so it doesn't work as well on its own with it open like this. But I'm just going to use it like this because I don't have the case yet. I love the different books I've been reading so far, and the fall atmosphere in a lot of them It's been really fun. I got this sweater. I know you can only see the sleeves, but I got this sweater today, and it has pumpkins around like the collar, the neck of it. And it kind of just reminded me of like Rory Gilmore from Gilmore Girls. And I've just been really having a nice autumn so far. Guys, I think it's not working very well without the cover. I feel like I might be breaking it. Oh no, I wonder why. Maybe, oh, it's because it needs its thing to help it roll up. Okay, I'll just use one of my cheaper ones for now until I get the cover for my Tombow one. If you saw my fall TBR spread, I have several different washi tapes from the washi tape shop that have like pumpkins and things on them, and I'm hoping to use some of the pumpkins mixed with these other stickers. I think will go well. I think I'll put this bigger flower piece behind the leaf. Okay, now I'm gonna put the squirrel down. Tea break. Okay, now let's work on this side for a little bit. I think I might go ahead and put the brown paper down. And then put some stickers around. And I think I might put this big pumpkin piece down here. Okay, and then these different size frames I wanted to use over for my books. There we go. And now I want to put some stickers more like over top of the frames. I'm gonna cut this little piece so it's more layered. There we go. And now I want to put a few little leaves from this roll around. There's a little acorn right here that I want to put to go with the squirrel. Maybe up here. Okay, and I have this little orange pumpkin I want to put maybe like behind up here a little bit. There, I think that looks really good. And now I want to stamp September under here. Okay, I've got my ink. There we go. I think that looks really nice. And now let's use my Muji pen to write the names of the book titles in the frames. I'm going to do Heat of the Everflame in like a longer one. Actually, all my titles are a little bit longer. Let's just see what fits. A Harvest of Hearts by Andrea Eames. There are all my books, and I really like how this cover spread turned out. It's very autumnal. I love the little squirrel and his little acorn. And now we can do the first book spread, which I will do Heat of the Everflame first, just because it's the first book I read in September. Tea break. Okay, my printer ran out of ink a little bit, so the cover of the book is a little like washed out looking. I actually got more printer ink from Amazon, but I don't think I loaded it correctly, so I'm going to figure that out later. And for now, I'll just use this one I already printed, and I can always cover it up later. Okay, this roll from the washi tape shop, I used a couple stickers from it in my traveler's notebook, but I haven't really used it too much. I kind of wanted to use a bunch of the orange stickers, I was thinking. There's like these cinnamon and oranges on this roll that are really cute. but if I could figure out how to use that could be fun. Or I have this roll that I got from Amazon that has a bunch of orange flowers, a few pumpkins, and butterflies. Okay, I think I will use this one, but I might want to rip some paper to go behind it first. Okay, let's tape these down. There, I think that's a good background, and now I'm gonna cut this, clip, clip. And with this cut, I'm going to cut around the flowers so that there's not so much clear, and then I'll just cut the butterflies out that are up here. I'll cut those out later. I'm going to cut this, line it up, and put it down. There we go, and now I'm gonna cut any excess off. Okay, I have this little booklet of butterfly stickers that I feel like the butterflies match pretty well. So I think I'll use some of those. And I also have this little booklet that has like ferns and things that I kind of like. They're more green than autumnal, but I'm wondering if something like this jar would look cool here, and then layer butterflies like over top of it, so maybe they'll kind of look like they're inside the jar, if that makes sense. And maybe this kind of in the background. Okay, and now I think I will do a little bit of this brownish orange simple washi tape at the top, just to kind of make a border. And now place some of these butterflies around. Here, I found this smaller size cover to show you, like, I printed this back when I still had printer ink and the color is more orange, so I definitely need to reprint my cover so it's more vibrant. But these butterflies are a little more red, but I might use those as well. Just looking through here, there's a lot of like yellow orange varieties. I like that a lot, and I'm wondering if it would look good to have any of the flowers up here kind of like layered. And now we can cut the excess off. There we go. I like that a lot. Now I just want my book cover to be brighter. Okay, I was able to print a better cover. That looks much nicer. I think I like this how it is, so I want to tape down my book cover and a star sticker. And there we go. I ended up giving this book 4 stars, so like I said, not quite 5 stars, but still, I really enjoyed it by the end. For it to be as long as it was and me to start going through the book very quickly, I think says a lot. This book, like I said, is the 3rd in a series, and this series follows DM, who is immortal but lives in a world where there is a race called the Descended, who came from gods, and so they are very strong and have powers, and they rule all of the different lands in the kingdom, and humans have lived ruled by the Descended for a long time. DM is a healer, and the first book reminded me a good bit of the Prison Healer books, if you've read that series. There's just a lot of similarities. They are different, but DM is a healer, and the series follows her as DM's mom goes missing, and her mom was a healer for the palace. So you see her try to figure out where her mom went, and she kind of takes over her mom's role and starts being the palace's healer, and by doing that gets to know some of the Descended that live within the palace. And then a bunch of things happen because this is the 3rd book, like I said, and the books are pretty large, so a lot of different things happen, but it is pretty similar, like I said, to A Court of Thorns and Roses. series by Sarah J. Maas. That series is very popular, so if you've read it and are looking for something similar, I would say this is pretty similar, like all things considered. The romance is definitely more slow burn in this series, but that's kind of, to me personally, refreshing. The main character, DM, reminds me a good bit of Feyre, who's the main character in A Court of Thorns and Roses. And overall, I really enjoyed this book. About 150 pages in, the book started to pick up. I did try to read this book earlier this year and just ended up DNFing it just because I honestly got distracted. It's a really big book and I couldn't bring it on a trip with me, so I kind of like lost my place and forgot what was happening. I'm glad I picked it up and finished it because this series has been a really fun time. It's one of the longer series that I've been reading this year. I think there will only be 4 books. The 4th is not out yet, but the books themselves are quite large, but I've been enjoying them. It's been nice to be in one world and spend a longer time getting to know the characters. So now I'll write about it. It's definitely a fun series. It has mortals versus God type of dynamic. There's politics and a magic system, and there are creatures called griverns, like griffin wyvern combo, that are similar-ish to dragons. And overall, it's just a really fun time. It's a really like fun fantasy series. I would say this series is a really good step between like romantasy and high fantasy. It's not completely romantasy because it's so slow burn that it's definitely not super romance forward. And it's not quite high fantasy with intense world building, intense magic, and like having to lay a lot of ground for you to understand it. So it's kind of in between where you could pick it up and understand it more easily, and there is some romance. And so if you've been thinking of getting into higher fantasy books, or you just know you like this type of thing, I would definitely recommend this series. If you've read this series, let me know what you think of it. Let me know if you think the main character, I will say I think she's like a little frustrating sometimes, like kind of just says one thing and does another, or says she doesn't want anyone to get hurt or anyone to die. She doesn't want anyone to get hurt or anyone to die on the immortal side or the mortal side, but then on the descended side or the mortal side. But then she'll do things that kind of cause people to have to fight or things like that. So if you know, you know. Let me know what you think about the series if you've read it. Without spoiling anything, I can say that in this book, they get to kind of travel throughout the world a little more. So you get to see some of the other like either kingdoms or sections that the map is divided into. You get to experience like the other kingdoms and their types of magic and things like that. And I thought that was really fun. I really liked the kind of traveling aspect. I always just love a fantasy book that has like a traveling or quest kind of plot to it, and this one was more so like that than the other 2 books before it. There's this book all written about, and now we can move on to A Harvest of Hearts. For this one, I kind of wanted to use this heart that I printed off. Here's the cover of the book, and it has heart in the name, but obviously the book also has to do with hearts. They hold a kind of magic, and so there are sorcerers who try to harvest hearts from humans to fuel their magic. So I thought we could use this heart in the center and maybe surround it with flowers for something kind of different. This story follows Foss Butcher, which is an interesting name, but she is the butcher's daughter, and Foss is a kind of flower that she's named after. And she has noticed her whole life these sorcerers coming into her little village and coming out of these beautiful carriages, kind of almost like hypnotizing people with their beauty, because the sorcerers are always very beautiful. They come into town and draw people into their carriages, and then they come out and they're not the same anymore. But other than that, Foss and her village don't seem to know very much about the sorcerers and what they do with the hearts or how it fuels their magic. They just kind of have rumors. And then one day a sorcerer comes into the village, but he is male and normally they are female. So I guess they would be called sorceresses, but Foss, of course, notices the male sorcerer, and she gets what they call snagged, which is when the sorcerer or sorceress does some kind of magic and they can't stop thinking about the sorcerer. So she goes on kind of a quest to find the sorcerer and get him to break her curse so she can try to move on with her life and not end up like those in her village who've had their hearts taken. And I would say this book is definitely something you should listen to on audio if you can. The narrator did a really good job portraying the main character, Foss, and how she felt. Like, she had a lot of character in the way she read the book. I think that helped paint a better picture than if I were just reading Foss's words in my head. Hearing her accent and kind of like the sassy way she would say some things, I think is part of why I enjoyed it so much, because I looked up the book on Goodreads, or I saw the ratings on it after I rated it on Goodreads, and the ratings are not the best. I saw a lot of people say that the book was like a little slow or rambling, but I guess maybe I didn't experience that as much because I listened to it on audiobook. I think that's something I've really noticed a big difference with audiobooks, is that it's hard to find it quite so slow or rambling. It's definitely still possible, but with audiobook, if you listen to the book while doing something, I feel like you just are more inclined to keep going with it because it's being read to you instead of you having to like literally push through. You can just listen to it. And I think that helped a lot. I will say there were some times where the magic was a little confusing. Like, it was hard for me to picture what was happening, and that might just be me, but maybe the descriptions sometimes were a little confusing. But overall, I enjoyed it a lot. And I also saw some comments complaining that they thought this would be cozy, and it is not super cozy. I didn't think it was very like scary or anything, but it is kind of grim with the whole like harvesting of hearts. It is a bit gruesome at times for sure. And again, I listened to it, so perhaps there were more gruesome parts than I even remember, just because, I don't know, I wasn't staring at words describing things and reading them over and over. It was just read to me, and I think that helped. But anyway, it's not very cozy, but it's not a full-on horror, but I would say it's like a darker fairy tale. It definitely reminded me of Uprooted by Naomi Novik that I read earlier this year. A similar vibe with like kind of dark fairy tale-like things going on, but still some whimsical magic elements and a main character that is not overly serious, still a little lighthearted, a little bit humorous at times. Okay, and there is the heart cut out, and I thought maybe I'll just put it in the middle and put flowers all behind it, like kind of growing out of it, to make it not so, I mean, I don't think this looks gross. I think it looks kind of cool, but it is a heart, so it's like a little bit, it's definitely different from what I normally do. Okay, so this roll of washi tape, I believe it's called Autumn Bloom, has these red and white flowers that I think will look really good. It has some orange ones as well, but I think I'll mostly use the red and white ones. I used it on my fall TBR spread a little bit. I saw this book got compared to Howl's Moving Castle, and I will say there is a similar-ish like personality type between the sorcerer and Howl, the sorcerer in this book, and Howl from Howl's Moving Castle. But I also saw that some people thought that comparison, like in reviews on Goodreads, I saw some people saying that comparison was like not crazy, but you know, not called for, that this book was much more gruesome and less kind of wholesome maybe than Howl's Moving Castle. But I do think if you take the comparison loosely, it's like a little similar, as much as something can be without, you know, like copying Howl's Moving Castle. I thought the character type of the sorcerer in this book and Howl were fairly similar. Okay, so this little leaf was sticking up and now it's kind of over the heart, and I actually like that, so I might overlay some things over the heart. And this tape has the word harvested, which fits with Harvest of Hearts, so that's kind of fun. I'm liking that, and then I might just tape the heart down a little bit in the center, but leave it so it kind of has this like pop-up effect. I don't know how many times opening and closing my journal that would stay, but I think it could look kind of nice to have the edges pop up a little bit like that. Okay, I think that looks really nice, and I want to add a border around the edge with this Tombow in 757. There's my border around the edge. I feel like that really helps tie it together. I squished the heart a little bit, but I'll just flatten it out. And then we can put the book cover up there. And I might put a couple little flowers on the edges. I saw a couple little flowers like this one and this long stemmed one. And I thought those might look nice around the edges a little. I got another one of those same ones up here to put in the other corner. And these ones I did purposely different flowers so that the corners are slightly different from one another. Here's a little lighter pink one that I'll put over here probably. And honestly, I think that looks really good. I like how it is like this. So I think I will just cut off any excess down here and I will put my book cover down and write about it. I have a stars sticker. And I gave this book 3 stars. There we go. And now I can write about the book. I just realized I'm writing automatically across the pages, but I would probably recommend writing down one page and then down the other. But I don't think it makes too much of a difference, so I'm just going to keep going. There's also a talking cat in this book, which was really fun and cute, and of course gave really nice kind of Sabrina the Teenage Witch vibes, really nice autumn vibes. And there we go. Okay, and with that spread done, we can do the last 2 books, which were What Moves the Dead and What Feasts at Night by T. Kingfisher. So like I said, I finished this one. I listened to them both on audiobook, and I finished What Feasts at Night on October 1st, but they're in the same series, so I kind of wanted to just put them on a spread together. And I've already read 4 books in October, and I plan on reading as many as I can. So I think I'll have plenty of books to include on my October spreads. So I thought I would just do these 2 books together, especially because they are shorter novellas. So I don't think I will have as much to write about each of them because they're pretty short. These books follow a character named Alex Easton, who I believe is non-binary, and they are what is called a sworn soldier, which I believe is a made-up term for these books. But the first book starts with Alex showing up to a fellow soldier's house because he got a letter saying that the soldier's sister was sick and it was a friend, and the sister was a friend of theirs. So he shows up and things just are kind of weird, kind of creepy. Weird things are going on, and Easton kind of has to figure out what's going on. And so both of the books have kind of like a mystery element and a bit of a horror element. So they're perfect reads for October and spooky season. I would definitely recommend, and they're shorter, like I said, and I did like the audiobooks. So if you can get them on audiobook, I would recommend. I got them on the Libby app, so they were free. And I thought for this spread, we could maybe use these mushroom stickers. I have all of these stickers from an artist named Root and Branch. I have some washi tapes by the artist as well, and I thought I could maybe use these mushroom ones. This one especially is very unique looking, and I thought we could do like an autumnal color palette, but maybe use these like mushrooms instead of leaning into like the spooky covers, because the covers are kind of gruesome looking. But this one has mushrooms on it, so I thought we could maybe lean into the mushroom element and tie the 2 sides together. I like this one could be growing out of the corner of the spread. I have these mushroom like stamp looking pieces. Okay, I like that. And then maybe some brown paper. I might leave the holes and just see if I cover them up. I like that, but maybe I'll just do it more on opposite sides like that. And then I have this moth sticker by the same artist, so it goes really well. And I might put that in the middle and still write about this book on this side and What Feasts at Night on this side. What Feasts at Night had some references to moths in the story, so I think this would fit well and tie the two together. And then let's start taping these things down, since I like how those look. And maybe I'll do a little brown paper behind the moth as well. I like how that's looking, and I also have this sticker sheet from the same Root and Branch Paper Co. And I really like how these look, and they add to the autumnal feel, so I think I will add some of these, but first I think I'll do a little border. I don't have a red washi tape, but I have this same orange one I used on the other spread, so now I can put this mushroom down. Okay, and now some more washi tape for the bottom over here. There we go. I like that this matches the moth. I'm gonna go ahead and put the star stickers for the books down so that I know I have room for them. Okay, and now let's put some of these around, and I think I'll go with the more reddish ones to start. Okay, now let's tape this down. And for this moth, I think I will cut it in half so it doesn't bulk up my spread too much. And I'll try, because my journal's getting pretty thick, so it will kind of have to sit on this lump, so it won't perfectly meet maybe, but we'll see if we can get it close. I'm gonna move this sticker a little bit over. I don't have much green in the spread yet, but maybe I'll use this yellowish green leaf over here. And I think that looks really nice. And now I can fill in the star ratings. I gave both of them 3.5 stars, which is still really good. I saw the next book in this series is out, and it's called What Stalks the Deep. And I might have to read that one just to finish out this little series, because I think that's the last one. I do think it's so funny that I made my TBR spread, and all the books on that spread I do want to read, but these books weren't on there and I read them anyway. But sometimes it's just what's available at the library and kind of what I'm in the mood to read. But hopefully in October I will still make it through a lot of my fall TBR books. And I might do a vlog where I catch up on all the books I want to read on my fall TBR. So let me know if that's something you'd want to see. But now that I've made the spread and filled in my star ratings, let's write about both books. I'll write about What Moves the Dead on this page and What Feasts at Night on this page. I will say that these books were more kind of creepy than they were super scary, at least to me. And I don't normally read a lot of scary books or even like thrillers. So I usually read like fairy tales and fantasy, and sometimes they're more like grim or dark fairy tales, and those can get a little creepy. And these books kind of felt like in that vein, not super scary, but definitely kind of creepy and really good for this time of year. So I would recommend them. I feel like overall, I really liked that there were a couple characters from this first one that carried over into the second one, and you got to know them a little more. And so even though they're short novellas, I feel like the characters are still pretty endearing. And I've only read one other book by T. Kingfisher, other than these two, and that was Thornhedge. But I feel like so far I've liked everything that I've read by her, so I hope to read more by her. Last year I read a novella by M.L. Rio, the author of If We Were Villains. She put out a novella that has a similar cover to this one, with like an animal with mushrooms coming out of it. And I read that last year, and this book did kind of remind me, different writing styles, but similar vibe, kind of creepier novella where you're figuring out what's going on, kind of like an illness with both animals and humans. And so in that way, they were very similar to me, and I enjoyed them both in different ways. I'll put the name of the M.L. Rio book. I'll pop it up on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. But let me know if any of you have read any of these novellas. There are these two books all written about, and those are the last books for September. Now we can flip through them all. Let's go back to the beginning. Here we have the cover spread. We have Heat of the Everflame by Penn Cole. We have A Harvest of Hearts by Andrea Eames. And we have What Moves the Dead and What Feasts at Night by T. Kingfisher. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm so excited that it's October and that I get to read even more autumnal and kind of spooky books. I'm mixing in some graphic novels and some lighter rom-coms with what I read as well. So stay tuned for a lot of October spreads, because so far I've already read like 5 books, and it's only a week and a half into October. If you've made it to the end, please remember to like the video and subscribe. I'd love it if you would comment. I'm so happy that you're here, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye guys.